A big question when it comes to my freshwater stingrays and Asian arowana is what's going to happen to them when we move the aquarium gallery. And you guys know, we're moving to a place that's 5 times bigger, installing tanks that are going to have permanent installations, as well as, of course, opening it to the public. More on that in a second. When my first big aquarium project was like 20 years ago, and I built an aquarium stand just out of pine boards. It didn't look great, but it did the job, and I saved myself a couple $100 because when I got into this hobby, I knew, not right away, but I knew eventually, man, this stuff is expensive, and I can't afford to do all of this, but I'm not gonna let it stop me. Oh, and by the way, this is that frozen food that we made for the piranhas, and well, for everybody really that'll eat it. It's frozen, and I just snap off a piece and add it to the tank. We started off by just kind of sticking it to the tank here. I just press it up against the glass like so. Hopefully you can see that. And that'll allow it to like kind of slowly defrost. The piranhas start to get an idea that it's in there. They could taste it, and eventually they'll all come out and find it and go nuts. Now it does lose its suction over time, like usually within like 2 to 3 minutes. If not, if the piranha get to it before that, it'll unstick itself sooner. But once it starts defrosting, everybody comes out and starts eating at it. I don't need to give them a lot. They're only tiny. There is 30 of them though. Wait till you see the display I'm going to set up with these guys in the new place. But yeah, you see, they go nuts. A lot of people thought that I they never got to feed them, or they never got to see them eating this because I just gave them beef heart. But in the video of making this stuff and showing you guys how to do it, I actually gave this to some of the fish. Look how fast they're getting rid of it. Once they find out it's there, a little frenzy starts to happen. Look, now it fell off, right? It lost its suction like I said it would. A couple minutes into it, 2-3 minutes, depends on how long it takes them to find it. And then the piece will float around. Oh, they ate it all? It disappeared, it's gone. All right, well, anyways, back to the video. So it's really, really easy to forget where you came from, and I feel like it's really important for me to remind you guys that I started this from nothing. I know that a lot of the projects seem unobtainable to you guys, but I think the point of this video is just to bring you through a story of mine that I never let a lot of restrictions stop me from truly doing what I wanted to do. My first aquarium stand, all I had for tools was a screwdriver and a borrowed saw. These are not the same ones. They were much cheaper, even though these are pretty cheap. It took me all day to build that stand, and my hands were bleeding with blisters. But I did build a stand for my 55-gallon Oscar aquarium, because at one point I only kept Oscars. Which, by the way, are doing actually pretty good. You guys will remember we got these little guys. Now they're like half full grown. They're like 6 inches at least. Getting really big, really aggressive for their feeding, and we built like a 300-gallon tank for them to start off with. They will be coming to the gallery as well. I know many of you guys are wondering and curious, but yeah, these guys are doing fantastic, and they will be coming with us. They're just super hyper aggressive for food. Being in a group like this, really interesting to see a shoal of Oscars. I can't wait to show you guys in the new gallery what they're gonna act like. Anyways, I also feed in the gallery shrimp, pellets, you name it, a variety of everything. But on video, I typically only feed shrimp because it's easy to see and watch it kind of disappear. But these guys do eat whatever I offer. I just typically don't do it on camera because, you can see fish eat pellets all the time, but to watch them eat a full chunk of shrimp or something like that is typically a lot more interesting and entertaining. But a lot of people often wonder, what is their diet? And I gotta say, I never know what their food's gonna be for the day. I always give them something varied, very often, or very, very rare that they get the same thing twice in a row. Anyways, do you guys want to know the real reason I started keeping... This guy jumps no matter what. Asian arowana simply jump. In fact, all arowana jump. The Amazon, for example, the silver arowana is considered the monkey fish. In Asia, it's the dragonfish, but this guy jumps all the time. He's about 4 years old now, and we'll get to that in a second, but he's broken the glass. He's literally broken in half. This is 6mm plate glass. There's no way a fish should be able to break it, but they do, and I just simply taped it back together on the bottom and the top because, well, I don't see replacing this entire panel just because the corner broke, but I also don't want humidity or fish to be able to jump out of there. Anyways, taped it up. He jumps. That's what they do. They sometimes jump, and, you hope for the... God damn it, he's beautiful. Sorry, I don't mean to curse, but sometimes I get excited. So the real reason I started keeping freshwater stingrays, I knew they existed. I didn't know they were common to the aquarium hobby. And when I seen them for the first time in person, I was enamored. I had to have one, but I also knew I got to do my research. And when I started researching freshwater stingrays, I realized that I'm almost in over my head. I'm going to have to truly make sure we do the right thing here. So before I got my first freshwater stingray, I researched for, I think it was like 2 years straight, just absolutely obsessed, gathering information, understanding them, wanting more and more and more. I needed to know everything about them because I knew that they're going to live for like 20 years, and if I'm going to have an animal that lives for that long, I better well know how to keep them. Having that courage, and I had a spare 100-gallon tank as a grow out. I went to my local fish store, and I was like, all right, I want to get this fish, but I got to make sure that I can provide for it long term. I know that they're going to need a massive aquarium. Do you have any in stock, and or can you get me one? And they said, well, we don't have tanks that size in stock, nor can we actually get them. I was like, and they're like, well, maybe you could build it or custom order it or something like that. So I said like, okay, so you might not be able to get the tank, but can you get the filtration? Maybe I could just buy the filters, etc. And they're like, well, we don't sell filters that big either to, filter hundreds of gallons. We have hang on the back, some canisters, that sort of thing. You'd have to build something or custom order it, etc. I was like, what? Okay, I was like, okay, so you don't have the tank and you don't have the filtration. Do you have any sort of diet-specific foods that you could sell or that you have for the stingrays? And they're like, no. I was like, okay. Folks, this is 1,000,000% a true story. I wanted to buy this fish, and they were selling it, but they didn't have the tank to take care of it with. They didn't have the filtration and didn't have the food, but would sell the fish. I was like, what is wrong with you guys? And at that time, I was already kind of doing do-it-yourself projects here on YouTube for you guys, smaller things. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have to build this tank because I'm not going to let availability of my local area depict what I can and cannot keep in the hobby. So I built my first plywood aquarium, well, on camera anyway, back in like April 2011, and at that time I only took photos, so I just did like a voiceover with the photos, instructions. The tank was built months prior. But stingrays is why I went, there's no other way to describe it, but why I went balls deep in do-it-yourself projects. And look what happened! Sometimes the industry doesn't like me because I show how to build so much, but you also created me. So, give and take. So my journey into freshwater stingrays started out as a relatively interesting one. Oh, this is also why I don't like to feed pellets on video, because for a couple of hours after they eat, sometimes it's a little cloudy, and if I feed shrimp, it's incredibly clean and it doesn't cloud up, so I can continue to film, get the shots, etc. without ruining the tank for the rest of the video. Anyways, my journey into freshwater stingrays was an interesting one. We started out, of course, with reticulated stingrays, got into some Motoros, bred the Motoros, got my hands on the Bosmani stingray. Now, the Bosmani stingray was, in fact, recently discovered and scientifically described in something like, and I might get my dates wrong, but like in 2011, and by 2013, I had bred one in captivity. It was the first time the Bosmani stingray was bred successfully in captivity. But I always wanted like black stingrays. I feel like I'm super, super attracted to black stingrays. And not necessarily, well, maybe in a no, not in a sexual way. Just really, really like them. I gotta cool it with those types of jokes. So I finally got my hands on some Leopoldi stingrays, a couple of babies. They were getting into breeding as well. The mother was pregnant. She gave birth to early birth, and she aborted the pregnancy. But it doesn't matter. What happened was, well, of course that matters. What I'm trying to get at was, I was super excited building all these tanks for these guys. There's the Beischer, by the way. A lot of people ask what's up with him. He's still in there. I built all these tanks. And one of the tanks I had was a pair of 225-gallon acrylic tanks. One for a pair of stingrays and one for an Asian arowana. Not this guy. He came right around 4 years ago, but we'll get to him in a second. So I built this awesome system. The stingrays are breeding. Next thing I know, the heater in the sump melted and released all this toxic goo or whatever it was within the heater, and it killed my stingrays. I was absolutely devastated, especially when I contacted the company and they knew this was a problem. They knew that they should have recalled that heater, but it was cheaper to deal with people's problems than it was to recall all of those heaters. This was at a time when I was a much nicer person and I bit my tongue through most of it. And I never made a video again with my stingrays for an entire year because I didn't want to have to tell everybody that my rays were gone. Everything my channel was building up to and all these projects and everything that I was doing was because of the stingrays, and then they were taken from me. some people will say it's my fault or that I killed those rays, or you know, like I was supposed to know that these heaters were faulty and they should have been recalled, etc. The company replaced the cost of the Stingrays, but I didn't want to get Stingrays again for a long time until I finally got my hands on a trio of black diamond stingrays, which are my all-time favorite. Not everybody's, but they're definitely my all-time favorite. Now these guys is another interesting turning point. That's a female, by the way. And this is the male, and that's a female back there. We can see that under his tail, if you look at the base right there, maybe when he swims up, you'll be able to see his claspers, which are his reproductive organs. He just got 2. A stingray's claspers are essentially like a male's appendages, but a stingray has 2 of them. Only fish in the world I'm jealous of. Okay, I said no more of those jokes, sorry. And sometimes I hear people say, oh, Joey doesn't build tanks as much as he did anymore or anything like this. But this was right when I was planning out the gallery. I knew the gallery was going to happen. I was going to build everything. I was going to build my 120s. I knew I wanted 120s. The 120s, though, were going to cost me about $500 to build or $500 to buy. Custom Aquariums got a hold of me and they're like, hey, we'd love to give you an aquarium. I was like, that's cool, but I need 10 of them. So they decided to just ship me 10, which is awesome. Saved a ton of money that way. But people were upset, like, Joey, you didn't build those tanks, you're the king of DIY, and these guys are the reason I had to stop and or reconsider the way things were going. You see, I used to build everything, and I'd break down builds into like 4 videos. I'd build the tank, and then I'd build the stand, and then I'd build all the equipment and set up, and then we'd have it up and running in the 4th video. Finally, we'd move into scaping, which we rarely did with my bare bottom tanks because I had Stingrays and arowana, but then adding the fish, and that was kind of the video series, and I'd do one of those videos each week. It would take like a month and a half for you guys to see all of it. Now you guys get everything all the time, because sometimes I do daily videos, sometimes I do every other day, sometimes I do once a week, sometimes I do every I need a better schedule. Coming soon. A lot of people think that I'm stopping videos with the new gallery. No, I'm doing daily. At least daily, or at least every second day. No less than a video every 2 days, period. I'm not stopping making videos, though. Anyways, I got a hold of these stingrays, but I needed to have them a grow-out tank before I built them something even bigger. So I built this like 100-gallon, I think it was, or maybe it was 200 gallons. I built a 100-gallon aquarium, and the comments in it is like, oh great, Joey's building another aquarium. Are you ever gonna do anything else? Show us something else. Why do you keep showing us how to build tanks? You've done it, you know, multiple, like over and over and over again, of every type: plywood, glass, acrylic, TV, upside down, corner, you name it. I made coffee table tanks. Every type of aquarium that I could possibly think of, I made a video on, and you guys grew sick of it. I rushed that video out. Instead of making 4 to 5 videos, I put the entire build out in one video just to get it over with, and then we moved into more of a vlog style and kind of switched up the way my channel was going. But that was due to popular demand, and everybody enjoyed it, and everybody liked it. But these guys are the reason I never built tanks as much anymore. Sometimes I do if I haven't done it before or whatever, but I knew that in the gallery, in one of the last videos, we talked about the shell dwellers and how they impacted how I was going to stock the tank, and how they had a massive impact on the future of the aquarium gallery. But what we've never talked about was these guys' impact on it. Look at them just sitting there all proud and happy, and like, bro, it's your fault I didn't build everything. Yeah, you know, it came down to this. If I was to build those tanks, it would have took me at least a month and a half to 2 months of building a tank every 4 days. It would have took me 4 days to build an acrylic aquarium. I'm not set up like manufacturers with a building line or anything like that. I got to build one at a time. And it would have took at least 40 days without taking a break, without taking a day off, to build 10 120-gallon tanks. So I figured if I'm going to build them over the course of 2 months, it's going to cost me $500 a tank just to build them, or I could just buy them for the same price. So I decided then I was going to buy them, and customaquariums.com got in contact with me, and they offered to get them to me for free. So that's why we went that way. Anyway, a lot of people haven't been watching me for 10 years or however long I've been making videos or whatever these stories are, and some of them I've never told, so I'm just trying to bring you guys up to speed with a lot of tanks and what they've meant to me and their impact they've had on not only the gallery but my hobby in general. If it wasn't for freshwater stingrays, I would have never became the king of DIY. If it wasn't for Frank the Flowerhorn, I would have never started showing more of my personality, or, you know, kind of doing a
like this type of format, although I did start vlogging like 4 or 5 years ago, so it never really had much to do with Frank. It was more so like just being able to enjoy the video making process and not taking myself too seriously. Now in January 2016 is when I lost those original stingrays, those two Leopoldi, those black and white stingrays that I was talking about a moment ago. And it was 1 year later that I was able to finally tell the story. But for 1 year, I literally just did projects. I never showed a single fish on my channel for an entire year. And you know, people were starting to get concerned, like, Joey, where's all your fish? How come you're not showing anything? I was like, man, I'm too heartbroken over, like, losing my favorite fish. And it wasn't my fault. You know, if a fish jumps out of my tank or something like that, I mean, they're in your care, so, you know, people can debate if it's your fault or not, but I never wanted him to. I don't want him to jump out. I took all precautions to make sure this is set up properly and he can't jump out randomly, but I mean, I've watched an alligator gar smash through glass tighter or thicker than this. Things happen in the hobby and it really sucks. And I didn't want to talk about it for an entire year. God, these guys are gorgeous. Can we just run over their anatomy so you guys can have a basic breakdown of what makes up a stingray? And then when you move forward, you can like talk about this if you ever see somebody with stingrays or stuff. Anyways, we can see his eyes. Eyes. Right behind his eyes, those things that keep flapping, those are his spiracles. Those are the things that feed his gills underneath of him. Underneath, you can see his mouth there slightly, and then he'll have his gills, little slits. They don't swim up the side of the tank nearly as much as they used to because of Big Daddy over here, you little jackass. But that's going to change soon because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen to these guys and what's going to happen to him when we open the new gallery. So behind the spiracles, we can go back to his tail. Let me see if we can see one. So there's a good shot of it. You can see his spine, or his barb, whatever you want to call it. And that's what actually kind of stabs it. We've gone over exactly what happens. Oh, here's a good shot of this guy's underneath his tail there. You could have seen his claspers. Those are his reproductive organs. I've got one male here and two females. Breeding size, not there just yet. And his claspers are fully rolled and they are starting to bite and stuff. So he's showing signs of interest in breeding, but I don't think it's going to happen with him in it. It could happen in a couple of years, but if we want to kind of see these guys do it a little bit sooner, he's got to go. And not go like leave our care, but I'm going to tell you where he's going to go in the new gallery here shortly. But yeah, so you look at a stingray and you're like, that's not a fish. Well, at one point these guys were. If you look at their size, their entire disc, do you know what that is? That's their pectoral fins. Pretty cool, eh? So that's his pectoral fins, like the little flappers on the side of a fish. That's his pectoral fins all the way around it. They've just evolved to be like that. And then under the pectoral fin, let me see if we got one. See the move? It's his pelvic fins. That's kind of like their little feet. They use it to walk. See them flapping back behind him? I think it's so funny when I look at them. That's what they kind of use to move along the bottom of a tank or whatnot. They undulate their disc, of course, to swim. But when they're on the bottom, their pelvic fins are typically... There's his mouth. Ah, you bugger. But yeah, super, super, super cool, isn't it? Anyways, these guys are now 4 years old. And they've, you know, tripled in size or whatever. This guy's... and I do find that they probably should be a little bit bigger, and they probably should have already been breeding by now. But, you know, a slow in growth and reproduction can happen when you have a lot of tank mates, or if you have tank mates with stingrays. Not all the time, but sometimes. Look, he's over there giving them a hug. Morning. Stingrays are hilarious. Okay, what's going to happen to these guys? Nothing. This 700-gallon tank is coming, except it's going to be an island. You're going to be able to walk around the whole thing and see it. And the only thing in this tank is going to be the stingrays, because I want them to have babies for everybody to see. It'll just be these 3 guys in the tank. Water quality will improve. They'll be able to get the food a little bit better. They won't be intimidated by swimming up the side, so we'll be able to hand feed them and stuff. But they don't swim up the side nearly as much as a regular stingray would, or how my other stingrays would, because he bites them and nips at them if they do. It is working out well, but the stingrays had to learn to stay by the bottom because of him. Within the same week, though, this is an ultimate blood red Asian arowana. It came as well. He's now 4 years old. He's probably at least 2 feet long. He's going in the 375. The 375 with the coral and all of that's going into a different tank as well. In fact, we'll probably split it all up between 2 and 3 tanks. Who knows what will happen there. But
I'm pretty sure, now mind you guys, I got to get into this building and walk around and hear what your guys' feedback is and whatnot. This is definitely going to be an island. These guys will definitely get it. I believe he's going to be built into a wall, and he'll be the first fish that you see when you walk into the aquarium gallery. He'll be at reception, always watching, always monitoring you. He will be the gatekeeper. Or maybe the Oscars. I haven't decided yet, so we'll let you guys think about that. But these guys are doing absolutely fantastic. They always have for the past 4.5 years that I've had them in my care. But, you know, here's to another 15 years of providing massive tanks, massive diets, massive electricity bills and water bills, and you name it, just to keep a group of fish that require all of that. Man, is that ever gorgeous. Yeah, so a lot of these trees, everything will be taken out just so we can walk around. The rays don't need it. They're going to become so interactive, and they will want to eat out of your hand, and it'll be so fun to see like school trips and stuff like that come and try to feed the stingrays, or you know, just be as mesmerized as I am with underwater life. Just absolutely incredible. I love these guys. I still got to do like a stingray profile on these guys at some point, kind of go through how to keep them and whatnot, and we've done it before, but I'd love to do it again. So there you have it. Yeah, these guys are coming. The 700's coming. I don't know what will happen to the Bisher. I think maybe these two will stay together because he's going to get quite big. And he is actually quite big now. He's probably at least a foot long. I know like things don't look that big on camera and that sort of thing, but this tank is 8 feet long. I know even that probably doesn't. And it's 5 feet front to back. It's 5 feet. It is a pretty big tank, and he's 2 feet. But he's at least a foot. So yeah, he's definitely bigger than we give him credit for. And he's just a beautiful, beautiful fish. I love him. This guy was lurking in the water when dinosaurs existed. It's considered an ancient fish. But so is the Asian arowana, the bony tongue, the dragon, the water dragon. This is a tank that I could just sit here and watch and watch and watch, because they sit here and watch you too. It's not a tank that you walk up to and they scatter away and they're scared of you. This isn't a fish that doesn't want anything to do with you. The rays are absolutely curious, and it's only going to get more intense for them because I'm going to be there with them all day, every single day. I can't wait. And same with the arowana. Like, man, can we just appreciate how beautiful he's gotten in 4 years? Imagine what he's going to look like in 4 more years. It's stunning. Just absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful, beautiful fish. Oh, and the one thing I'm actually excited about, I don't even know if I should admit it. So I got this tank from Jeff at One Fish, Two Fish. I paid him around, I think it was like, I don't know, $1,500, $2,000, something like that. And he got it from Concept Aquariums here in Canada. It's a Canadian company. Because he wanted to go bigger, and I convinced him, like, hey, sell me this one so you will have money and space for another big one. I can't wait to do that to him again. But when they built this tank, they used low iron sapphire glass. So what it means is, I'll just show you. Notice how when we look through this panel, I have to fix it for you guys. But okay. See how when you look through this panel, you can't really see through it? And of course this because the silicone's there, but let's see if we can get to the bottom. It's really dark in appearance. See, now you can see it through it, sort of, kind of, maybe. If we come over here, it's super easy to see through it. So when this tank left Jeff's store, he told me, he's like, okay, don't forget the front is the low iron sapphire glass. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll make sure that when I put it in the gallery, it goes on right. So I took a sticker and I put it on the sapphire glass so we wouldn't forget. I wouldn't forget. Apparently, sometime throughout the move, the sticker fell off and somebody put it on this side instead of that side. So when we came in, we put it up on the stand, and I didn't notice for like a week or two. But I was like, I put this on here backwards. So it'll be interesting to see just how much clearer that is, and we'll put it in there properly. But Concept Aquarium's also making me 10 180-gallon aquariums to start the aquarium gallery off, plus we're taking all of this there. I figured, once again, do you guys want to see me build the same thing over and over again for 2 months? I don't think that's the case.
and it's cheaper for me to buy than it is to build right now, especially during a pandemic, and materials. And I don't even want to tell you what a piece of wood costs or a piece of glass. Acrylic, oh man, you're better off building a tank at a Gold Bars at this point. Anyways, now you know. Now you know I've got at least 10 tanks coming. So when we move in there in a couple weeks, or maybe within a month or two, I'll have those tanks delivered on a transfer truck. So I'll be building the stands in advance. I think we're going to build internal filtration so nothing touches the ground. We'll see. This is just off the top of my head. I have so many ideas and so many things we got to think about and do. And I'm trying to bring you guys along in terms of each video dropping a little bit of this and that, because I read the comments and I see your guys' feedback and what you want to see and what you want to do and that sort of thing. And I just want to make sure that the expectation is we're still going to do an aquarium gallery with aquariums that you can have in your house. I'm not talking like 10,000, 20,000 gallons, 5,000 gallons. That's not practical. But this is an aquarium gallery, so it's a representation of our hobby. I want to inspire other people and you guys to do it. And I can't do that with 10,000 gallon tanks. I can make, that's kind of cool, but that's not hobbyist stuff. And yeah, I don't want to forget where I came from again. It's really easy to forget that you started off with a saw and a screwdriver when you got a garage full of power tools. Just keep that in mind.